Hey there guys, how are you? Welcome back to another awesome video. And today is going to be my very first top 10 video. So, before we get into what this is going to be about, let's get into the basics of how these top 10 videos are going to work. So, I mean, I think it's kind of obvious, but just in case, we're going to go over it real quick. So basics being, we'll go from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And before we get to number one, say some honorable mentions, and then go right into my number one. So that's pretty easy. So, with that in mind, let's get into what's going to be the top 10. And today's first top 10 video is going to be the top 10 Spider-Man villains. Spidey's got quite a lot of rogues gallery. He's got quite a lot of villains in that rogues gallery. So this was a bit difficult to go through a little bit, but I was able to accomplish this. And so here we are. And so for this list, we're going to look at who I personally think are not only the best Spider-Man villains, but in my opinion, my sort of personal thoughts on why I really like these guys a lot. Doesn't I mean, I guess it matters how the order is, but just because let's say one villain is at number 10 and another villain's at number 6 doesn't mean I like this villain any more than I like this guy. It's just kind of how I rearranged this list is that okay, this is how I like these guys, and I figured 10 through 1 is how I figure. I think I'd say I favor more over others, but I still, in the end, like these villains. I have nothing against them. It's not that this guy's weak, or I least hate this guy, or anything like that. It's just these are the guys I like. These are the villains that I remember whether reading Spider-Man comics, watching the Spider-Man cartoon series, whether it be Spider-Man the animated series, the '90s cartoon, Spectacular Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, any of those series, watching the Spider-Man movies, just getting used to these guys, growing with these Spider-Man rogues, and kind of being like, hey, I like that guy. Oh, he's cool, or more depth to these sort of guys. So I'll give you my reasoning behind why I like them, what aspects maybe give you a basics on in case you don't know who this person is or that person is as I'm going along. But without further ado, let's jump right into this. And then with that number 10, we're going to talk about the Shocker. So the Shocker, not really a lot to say other than it's just this, he's just a dude. He's just kind of a criminal. He's a common thug sort of thing. He's just a hitman sort of in a way. He doesn't have a lot really to him in terms of his personality and just his abilities. He just kind of wears this weird like yellow and brown like sort of baggy like socks threaded sort of outfit. I don't know what kind it is. Mesh maybe? I don't know. Point is making a joke about the guy. But still, I have a soft spot for this dude. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the fact that this is a guy that he's just a regular dude with just gauntlets that shoot out shockwaves. Maybe that's what's really cool. Maybe it's just the fact that he's just a simple villain, and it's just sometimes simple is good. And this is a villain that's kind of just simple and easy. But I'm a sucker for this guy because I love how the cartoons portray him, like how like whether it's over the top he is or just how just not that this is a complex villain, but I love how they just kind of make him like, okay, I'm just a criminal, and just make it simple. And they kind of, in terms of his personality, they make him a little more deranged. They make him. Sometimes he's a hired man. Sometimes he's a gangster. I'm trying to remember how he was sort of because in the '90s cartoon he was kind of just like this criminal thug, and then in the Spectacular Spider-Man he's like more like a business type of guy, like an old Western man, like cowboy and everything. I don't know. I know it sounds bad, but like my impression, but still, I'm just giving you guys a basics. And I don't know, kind of an interesting design. Not the best, but I like him. He's kind of cool. Gives me a soft spot here and there. I like the voice actors that have played him, both Jim Cummings and Jeff Bennett. Make me sort of root for this guy. That's just some people kind of look at him and go, he looks so stupid. That's a ridiculous costume. And seriously, just these little fist gauntlets and he just shoots little shockwaves. Kind of, But I like him. He's cool. Not gonna lie. So at number 9, Down at number 9. Number 9 is Mysterio. And man, this guy here, Quentin Beck, has gone through different variations of stories, but the basic story with Quentin Beck is he's just a regular dude who, whether he likes the theater, like he likes acting, or he likes special effects, or whatever the case is, he uses that to his advantage. So when doing bad guy stuff like stealing, maybe robbing, maybe even framing Spider-Man, he'll use special effects, he'll use practical effects to make it look like it's real. But in reality, it's just an effect and it's just an illusion. That's why Mysterio, he's very known for doing a lot of magic, a lot of illusions, the muscle, the mystic arts, and all that crazy mumbo jumbo. And although he's got kind of a silly outfit, he makes that silly outfit look cool. Come on, that fishbowl, I mean, it is a little bit silly, but he, to his credit, he makes such a silly thing look cool. And especially how well they handle, how well the Spider-Man video games, how well the comics, the cartoons handle him, and definitely 100%, without a doubt, how well and how spectacular and phenomenal Jake Gyllenhaal brings that character to life in Spider-Man Far From Home. And he really makes me love the character even more because I like this guy, and then because of all the things I've read up on Mysterio, I like him a lot more. And then because of Jake Gyllenhaal, boom, icing on the cake, just perfect. I don't want to say what happened specifically because we'll talk about Far From Home maybe another time. We'll see. Well, I'll have to figure out how I'm going to review the MCU movies. But point is, when we get to Far From Home, we'll talk about Mysterio because how awesome he was in that movie, and I really love Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. I think let's make this a hashtag. I know I made this a joke with my friends, but I will make this a thing. Hashtag best performance. Jake Gyllenhaal's best performance is Mysterio. Let's make it happen. But I really like what this character has kind of come to be at this point, and how far he's come with his magic, with all the crazy sort of weirdness of this guy. Number 8, Kraven the Hunter. So with Kraven the Hunter, it's different because he's not a dude that uses weapons and uses he uses weapons, but he doesn't use advanced technology. He doesn't use super serums. He doesn't use any chemicals to make himself mutated. Although I do like how in Spectacular Spider-Man he injected himself with like a serum, so he's got like literally the speed of a cheetah. He's mutated into like this lion animal creature thing. So he's got the strength of a lion. He's got the speed of a cheetah. He looks like an actual animal. It's awesome. And in Ultimate Spider-Man, they took the White Tiger medallion story arc thing and made him a white tiger. That was really cool. I like the inner animal that Kraven has. But what I like about Kraven best is where he's able to just rely on his instincts, because this guy is an actual hunter, and the fact that he loves chasing after Spider-Man, it's a thrill for him. It's the feeling, it's the rush that he has for just hunting him down, capturing him, using a lot of tactics and very smart ways of capturing Spider-Man, relying on not a lot of technology, more of like he's more hands-on type of guy. He'll use bear traps, he'll set up rope and all sorts of other things to track in Spider-Man, maybe set up some sort of booby traps. He's got reliable weapons like just your practical gun, good spear, a knife, all sorts of cool things. I know in modern comics and nowadays they've moderned him where he's got like psionic like techno blades, and he's got like holographic traps, but yeah, he's better when he's that's cool, but he's better when he's got no technology and he relies more on his his tracking skills and his sort of sense of like smell and him hunting like an animal. He's a man, but he thinks like an animal. Number 7, Scorpion. So Scorpion kind of goes through the same thing, like I said with Shocker. He's just a dude that was hired just to take out Spider-Man, and I like that. It's a little bit simple, but with Scorpion, he actually looks cooler. I like his sort of scorpion suit he wears, the tail, the fact that he has scorpion like blood in him, because they kind of like did some like experiments where they used scorpion DNA to infuse with his body or infuse his suit. So he's very very not hands on, but he thinks like a scorpion, and the fact that scorpions are actual predators of spiders, which is actually really smart for a villain like Scorpion, because you use that prey predator thing. I just love the suit that he wears. His stinger is really cool. The fact that it's got this nice sharp pinching spear blade to it, shoots at acid. He's got like the derangedness in him. He's like a him. This also implies the Shocker. As they're like meant for hire a little bit. They do the dirtiest of deeds. They'll get down and really just rip Spider-Man to shreds and everything. And just Scorpion is definitely cool. I really like him. He's a badass a little bit. And on a side note, I like when later on he becomes Venom. So that's kind of a little bonus point there, which is interesting because I like how he kind of becomes Venom and the Dark Avengers and that whole story arc. So a lot more credit to Mr. Mac Gargan, and I'm really excited when we see Michael Mando put on that Scorpion suit. That's gonna be cool, and especially just to see that guy become Scorpion. I love that for Spider-Man: Homecoming. That guy from Spider-Man: Homecoming. So yeah. Number 6 is Doctor Octopus. So Doctor Octopus, yes, this is another looking like in terms of his design, you can't really take seriously, but the fact that both Spider-Man 2 and a lot of these comics can make this character work is it fits. It really fits. Obviously what makes him cool is the fact that he's got 4 mechanical tentacles that are like strapped to his back. Sometimes their voices in his head, sometimes they're not. The fact is they're able to give him a more of a strength, but also an agility advantage in fighting Spider-Man, especially with how fast Spider-Man can be when wall crawling and web slinging. So he can easily do it with ease with his 4 mechanical hands, and he's kind of got it easy a little bit. He doesn't have to rely on his legs so much. He can use those 4 tentacles and just climb up stuff, maybe like walk even, which is sort of a noticeable thing. But one thing that's really interesting with Octavius is he's very smart. He's an intelligent man. Dr. Otto Octavius is a scientist. So he's kind of one of the most smarter villains in his rogues gallery. Not that any of these other guys are like super idiots or even geniuses, but the fact is, compared to his intellect, he's probably the most smartest. He's the one that puts together the group that is the Sinister Six. He's the main man that always puts the Sinister Six together, one way or another. He's always the brains behind the operation. He's the type of guy you'd see in those types of movies. The guy in the chair. He's kind of like not the guy in the chair, but he's the guy in the chair. He's the one pulling the strings, the puppeteer. Like, oh, I got this guy doing this thing for me and all this other stuff, and I've hired these men to also work for me. So he kind of pulls more of those sort of ideas and stuff like that with his intelligence. And he's one of the very few, like, kind of, there's a bunch, but there's very few villains that Spider-Man respects, and the villain respects Spider-Man, and Octavius is one of those guys. Okay, narrowing down a final 5 my list. Number 5 is the Hobgoblin. Now, with the Hobgoblin, he is an actual hitman. He'll get paid for trying to get rid of Spider-Man, trying to get rid of whatever person hires him, whether it be Norman Osborn, whether it be the Kingpin, whether it be the Sinister Six, whether it be the Sinister Syndicate, whether it be Tombstone, whether it be all sorts of men feeding him money. He's an actual, like, almost like a bounty hunter, almost like an assassin in a way. And it's done really cool. I like the fact that there's that aspect to him. I like how iconic in terms of the imagery you see of Hobgoblin. The most iconic image of him is him shredding up the Spider-Man suit in half, giving him this appeal of that he's a very sinister threat for Spider-Man, and he is very a nasty one, if not a very sinister one, but a very nasty one too. He's crazy. He's got obviously that Oscorp tech, so a lot of like those goblin bombs, all sorts of high tech advanced weapons that not even Norman Osborn would have. So he's got his own thing going on, and the fact that he just gets more crazier as he becomes the Hobgoblin, and even he becomes more demonic, more crazy. And I gotta say this up the top. I gotta get this off. I gotta get this off of my chest a little bit. Is I love Mark Hamill's Hobgoblin in that '90s cartoon. I think he's kind of one of the reasons why I love the Hobgoblin so much. Because Mark Hamill's one of my favorite voice actors, and I would say he's one of my favorite actors, but he's one of my favorite voice actors. So the fact that he makes Hobgoblins really work and how what he provides to that character, and the fact that that was my first introduction to the Hobgoblin was awesome. And I'm glad I got a hold of this dude. And even reading comics like the Superior Spider-Man and even some things with the Sinister Syndicate, it's just really cool. And he becomes more of a dangerous, more deadlier threat for Spider-Man as you kind of read more and get into him a lot more. Number 4, the Kingpin. Now, this is a different villain because usually you think of villain, when you think of Spider-Man villains, you think of a lot of those types of dudes I just said. You would not think of a big, like, sort of crime boss, like mafia type guy as a Spider-Man villain. But with Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin, he has a level of like almost like it's almost like a respect, almost like the Godfather almost. Um, and the fact that he came from a rough life as a child. He had through serious crap he had to go through with his parents, abuse or not, but he had a rough situation there. Um, and just him rising to crime. This is definitely different. And what really makes this even smarter is how Kingpin plays. And he plays like an actual Kingpin, like how in the world of crime you have a Kingpin. So Kingpin works how a Kingpin would be, which is he does all his dirty deeds, he does all his crimes on the inside. He does things very shady. He does things very like low key, so no one knows that Wilson Fisk funded this sort of crime and funded this villain and all these other things. But to the public eye, he's a genius. He's like, oh my gosh, it's Wilson Fisk. What a hero! He just saved that charity, and he just saved that old home. Those I can't think what they're called, like those old homes for old people, like those types of things. Oh my gosh, he's doing so much things, so many good things for the world. But he does crime on like a low sort of shade, and the fact that he's basically this is how he sees the world. He's trying to restore the city to where he's trying to restore the city because he sees vigilantes as a bad thing. That's why he hates Spider-Man. That's why he hates Daredevil. That's why you see so much of how he works in Daredevil and how well he's portrayed. Vincent D'Onofrio is phenomenal. And this becomes a villain that becomes very sympathetic and also relatable. How he's just a guy that's like, I don't like how the crime is, and it's just not good. Although I'm doing crime to get rid of crime, but that's how the world works. There's some dirty things in the cleanest of people, unfortunately, and that's how kind of life can be. And it's almost like Kingpin has a grit to him, like almost like a gritty thing to him, almost in a way. Um, and it's funny how he's this big fat guy, but there's like 5% of him that is fat, and all that is fat. When that all that body mass is literally 200, 300 pounds of muscle. So that is crazy. The fact that he's surprisingly strong for someone who looks like he's overweight and obese in some sort of drawings and some designs. But he's able to withstand combat and fight against Daredevil, fight against Wolverine. He's fought against Wolverine, by the way. He's fought against Spider-Man. He's fought up against the Punisher. He's beaten up all these guys, and he's taken good beatings and blows, all sorts of things like that. Um, and he just becomes a sympathetic guy that you're like, he's like, I'm just trying to do this for my city, for my people of New York City, for Hell's Kitchen, for my wife, and for my son, and for everybody. So yeah. Number 3 is Carnage. And what really makes Carnage tick? Who knows? But so you got so what's really crazy with Carnage is you already got a sadistic psycho, Cletus Cassidy, who's already locked up in like what was it, Ravencroft or something like that. He was locked up. He was locked up in an asylum, I remember, and so he's already crazy enough because he's murdered his. I think he murdered his family at one point. He abused his siblings. I think like he's got crazy stuff in his head. He's done crazy stuff even as a child, and so you have this psycho, and you take that and you add the spawn, the spouse, this offspring of the symbiote right here, and what do you get? You get a whole crazy whole lot of hell because Carnage is a psycho, and the fact that the symbiote and Cletus Cassidy are so bonded, they refer to each other as one, as I am Carnage, and just how crazy and how brutal and like his mind's just filled with like blood and gore, and I want to slaughter, and I will rip everyone's intestines out like via Mortal Kombat and just eat them alive. That makes him very chilling. That makes him very dark, and that makes him very evil and psychotic. And it just makes it like if you like villains as much as say I do, and you're gonna enjoy this guy. Some people have said he's crazier than the Joker. Some have said otherwise, but yeah, he takes things to like there's an extent. He goes above that extent. He just dives and keeps pushing for that envelope even further, digging deeper into that hole of insanity and the derangedness of the subconscious. And plus, I love the sort of design that Carnage has. I'm a sucker for red and black. Those are my favorite colors. Even though black is an absence of color, but I'll still say it's a color, even though it's an absence of color. But still, point is, I love Carnage. I love red and black, two of my favorite colors, and the fact that they mesh well together, it's so cohesive. And plus, black and red are really awesome colors to take and just merge into a costume or into a color or into something because it goes nicely. So that's a bonus right there. And the capabilities that Carnage has with how fast, how strong he is for someone skinny, how he's able to manipulate his body with that symbiote suit. But again, all beings are able to do that with the symbiote, but still the way Carnage works, and there's no line for him. He will keep killing and slaughtering until there's nothing really left in the world. And I really I like taking. I know I'm taking too much from this cartoon, but I love that '90s cartoon, and it's kind of one of the first times I ever watched these villains come to life. So villains like Hobgoblin, villains like Scorpion, villains like Shocker, and definitely Carnage without a doubt. Number 2, the Green Goblin. Since we talked about one goblin, let's talk about the other goblin, the more iconic goblin. I don't know if it's the better goblin, but the more iconic one, the more infamous goblin that there is, the one that's been around for a long time, the one that kind of keeps Spider-Man at a keeps Spider-Man on his knees, keeps him on his toes. The thorn in his side, that stab in the back no matter what, no matter who the Green Goblin is, the Green Goblin will come back no matter what. In a way, Goblin is kind of like the equivalent of DC's Joker, where he is that thorn in the side. He'll keep coming back. Even when he's gone, there will always be Green Goblin. And there's always been that rivalry for a while with Spider-Man, with the Green Goblin. Whether it be Norman Osborn was exposed to chemicals and not a virus, it was like chemicals and all sorts of crazy science stuff, and then made him crazy and made him have a second personality and all this other stuff that comes with this sort of method, like the stages of madness, or whether it's that like you're Norman Osborn, the father of your friend's best friend, or even your best friend, Harry Osborn. The fact that Harry Osborn, once his father's dead, took up the family job, the family roots, and everything. You know, Even that, no matter who it is, Norman, no matter it's Harry, any Osborn has to do with Oscorp, any man has to do with the Goblin, and just keeps coming back to Spider-Man is that rivalry in a way. And with obviously with the technology that Goblin has, the fact that he owns a company, obviously that being Oscorp, that whole thing makes it more of a, like he's got more technology he's able to get a hold of. So it's not like I'm stealing from my. It's like I'm stealing from myself. No, I'm just using this because I want to kill Spider-Man. And how many times we've seen the Goblin with Willem Dafoe, with how with how Dane DeHaan, with the '90s cartoon, with like so many infinite stories with the Green Goblin, the death of Gwen Stacy, um, the Ultimate Spider-Man, like the death of Peter Parker was that sort of thing, because Goblin was kind of one of the reasons why Peter Parker died in that Ultimate Spider-Man universe with Miles Morales. Um, Goblin, when he was literally a freaking goblin, all mutated and jacked, and he looked like he was green. Um, I don't think there's an Iron Goblin, but the goblins that have come after the Green Goblin wouldn't be here without that goblin. So the OG himself, basically. Before I unveil my number one pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Chameleon. He doesn't look like a chameleon, but it's really clever how the fact that he blends in with the world and with society, because he has the weaponry, whether it's advanced technology or just him pulling masks out of his backpack or whatever. He's able to disguise himself as whoever he wants to be and fool the eye a little bit. And plus, Camilo is really cool. I like how he looks, the white face, the sort of purple outfit he wears, and his advanced belt that makes him look like Spider-Man and everything. Always been a cool villain to me. And the fact, on a bonus sort of note, sometimes Dmitri has been sometimes supposedly related to Sergei Kravinov, who is Kraven the Hunter. So they've been stepbrothers, they've been considered cousins, brothers, whatever the case is. Point is, that's kind of an interesting keynote to know. Tombstone. Tombstone is another guy that's kind of like the kingpin. He works like the big man of crime who owns the city, owns the crime of the world, sort of thing. Very respected and a strong, surprisingly powerful too for someone who's known for just sitting around, just going, all right, I'm gonna hire this guy to kill Spider-Man. And whenever Tombstone gets into the action, he just busts Spider-Man's head a lot with how stone-like he is and the strength he has too. The Lizard. With the Lizard, what I like differently with the Lizard, not only is there like a sort of sympathy to this guy, because this is just a scientist that all he wanted to do was just grow his arm back, and in the process he created something worse. But what I really like a little bit interestingly different with Lizard is the fact that this is one of the very few villains that Spider-Man will save. He wants to get Kurt Connors better. And doing so, he's like, I want to save you. I want to help you out, cure you in a way. And sometimes Kurt will be like, there's nothing you can do about it. I'm the Lizard, and that's it. Enough said. Or he'll be like, you should stop saving me. Or even, let's do this. Let's figure out a cure. And he respects Spider-Man. Another villain that respects Spider-Man. And another villain that Spider-Man respects. Electro. Not the most complex villain, but definitely cool. The fact that he's got electrical powers, he's able to power surge through different things, so he can literally jump onto this computer screen and hack into the mainframe and do all this stuff like that. He can literally jump out of this screen onto the television, turn it on, go through the channels, channel surf, do all sorts of crazy things like that. Cause a blackout, all sorts of deadly things with technology. The Vulture. So with the Vulture, he's an old, with how he looks like in the comics, he's just an old guy wearing a bird suit. But you gotta give him sort of like a little bit of sympathy that this is a dude that's been working for, whether it's Oscorp or Stark Industries. This is an old guy that's like, I'm getting thrown around. I got kicked to the curb, sort of thing, and I'm just basically taking whatever weaponry and technology I own and I found and I borrowed, and basically using it back at my my sort of old boss because you guys are nothing but corporate vultures, sort of, kind of like how he said in the 90s cartoon. He's like, you guys are nothing but corporate vultures. There's only room for one bird of prey, and I am it. And I really I like how he's kind of gotten, like, over the years, the different designs. He's kind of gotten like this advanced, like, weapon, like, suit looking vulture look suit, with the technology, and how he's able to do more stuff, more capabilities with it. One suit in particular, he was able to sort of take someone's youth and absorb it and make Adrian Toomes, the vulture, young again. He's able to throw his blades at you. He's got like the same technology in terms of hovering and flying, like how the Goblin Glider works a little bit. Um, what else? Oh, of course, Michael Keaton as Vulture is even hands down even a fantastic point too, and a good example as well of the idea of this is just a guy that just he got kicked to the curb, and he's like, I had to work for I had to work for where I am, and I had no choice. I had to steal, and I had to be the bad guy because here are these big old, like, companies, these big old businessmen that had to do nothing in order to get their to where they are. We have to work up from the scraps and everything. And now, my number one pick, my top 10 Spider-Man villains is, drumroll please. I know it was bad, but I gotta build up something. Venom. The obvious answer is the best answer. And Venom, I personally really like a lot. Not only is it I like the symbiote story. I love the symbiote saga with what happens with Peter Parker, that sort of story arc, how that's handled during Secret Wars, during a lot of the Spider-Man issues and stuff like that. But I love what comes afterwards, which is Eddie Brock. I like Matt Gargan as Venom. I love that run. I love when Flash Thompson became Venom because then we got Agent Venom and we got Anti-Venom in the process, which is even cooler, even more awesome, stuff like that. Venom is the OG symbiote. He spawned, obviously, characters like Carnage, Hybrid, Scream, Slasher, Riot, Toxin, all sorts of symbiote villains, sort of like lesser known symbiote villains besides Venom and Carnage. So guys like that. So without these symbiotes, there wouldn't be Venom. There wouldn't be all sorts of like the Venomverse. There wouldn't be the symbiote war. There wouldn't be all these stories without this guy here. And there's just something about Venom, and there's something about Eddie Brock. Not only is it the fact of how, like, just villainous he is, and how just monstrous this guy is, and how I love, like, his black suit, and I love the things that he does, and that although he's not as crazy as Carnage, he's not afraid to kill, and how he's kind of become an anti-hero and all this sort of stuff. I love when he was a villain. I love when Eddie Brock was a villain, because not only do I like how Eddie Brock is, but what I really love most is the rivalry that Spider-Man and Venom have are a lot better, in my opinion. I love the Goblin and Spider-Man rivalry, but I love this one better. I love Venom and Spider-Man a lot more, because what really, I think, hits it home run for me is the idea that these guys, when you look at Spider-Man, you look / Peter Parker, and you look at Venom / Eddie Brock, they are literally polar opposites. And you could tell physically and mentally and psychologically, because you look at Peter Parker. He's a skinny guy. He's small. He's a nerd. He's kind of got that nerd look to him. He's got a little hopefulness to him. Although he lost somebody, he's got a hopefulness to him. The whole great power comes great responsibility. He lives that through that ideology day by day of that I shouldn't kill. If I did that, I'm no different than the criminals that murdered my Uncle Ben, stuff like that. But you look at that. You look at how Spider-Man is, the colors, how he's red, he's blue, he's got a lot more colors to him. He's very quippy. He's very, like, kind of like one-liner, like, very funny. Venom is the total opposite. He's stronger. He's physically bigger than Spider-Man. He's bigger than Peter Parker. So that makes him like his yin to his yang. Um, Eddie Brock suffered through tragedy, but took it in a darker way and it took it in a deeper way. Instead of taking it where Peter Parker took it as like, okay, let me take this as, say, like trying to make this hopeful and trying to like boost my confidence. Eddie went down a darker path. He went down a way darker path with where he went. He was not ashamed, but he lost his job. He lost his family. He was going to commit suicide. He was like trying to reason, like trying to figure out answers in ways he couldn't understand and comprehend. And he gets this sort of, wait, okay, there I am. I'm back. I thought I lost myself for a second, but I'm back. I'll keep that in. I'll keep that in for now. I don't care. But I should edit. But I'll keep this in for now, and eventually I will edit this. I'll start editing my videos better, and then that goes for Jade and T because we spoke about this like a few days ago, 2 days back. Yeah, 2 days back. But anyways, so along comes this symbiote, and they have this bond where it's like, I hate Peter Parker, I hate Spider-Man. We can get them together. So, and Venom's just awesome. And how, again, it does go with that, and getting back to that rivalry, how much they both hate, Spider-Man. And that fuels Venom and his like urge to like want to eat, want to kill, and basically seek revenge. He's a lot more darker. Sure, Eddie Brock can be like, Venom is no, it kind of can be funny, but it's dark humor. It's very twisted because he'll eat someone's head off and eat their guts and be like, hey, say something like, the salt was missing. I don't know. Something dark and twisted is my point. And just Venom is just an awesome villain. He's like one of the most iconic, one of the most infamous Spider-Man villains of all time, next to the Green Goblin. And there's no other villain out there that's more infamous. Those two are like the most infamous. And when you think of Spider-Man villains, a lot of people, whether you're a comic fan or not, will know about Goblin and Venom. No matter who you are and what you've seen, you're familiar with those guys. You might be familiar, feel their faces because with the movies and TV shows, but those two reminisce and are very, they're a big part in Spider-Man's story and Spider-Man's origin, that they're the top two, and Venom is definitely the top one, and definitely one of the best, if not one of the best Spider-Man villains. So that's my list, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments, what are your favorite Spider-Man villains? Are there any I missed? Are there some that you kind of think are very underrated? Whatever the case is, let me know in the comments below. And as always, guys, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please smash that button. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I do awesome videos every day, if not every week. And make sure you ring that bell to be notified of new videos, new content, stuff like that. Who knows? I might be out tomorrow, might be out for the rest of the week, but I'll try and get something in. Saturday, I might be open for Saturday because J&T Incorporated might invite me over for their, I don't know what we're going to do. We might do Mario, we might do Super Mario, we might do Smash Bros, we might do Brawl. We don't know what we're going to do. We'll figure that out over time. But if you want to check out Jaden's last video, Jaden over at J&T, we talked about his mains. We decided, because he wanted to do a video about, let me talk about my mains. I want to talk about why I main these Smash Bros characters and sort of the backstory, the origin story, if you will, of it. Who knows? Maybe I'll get into my mains, what I like about them, why I'm maining who and why. We'll do maybe something for Alex. We'll see how that works. But if you want to check out my previous video, literally, I think it was like a few hours ago, give or take, I tried doing a reaction to San Diego Comic-Con. I'm sorry I couldn't react to all of it, but I will try. I will try it again if you guys want to see more of like my reaction to San Diego Comic-Con. I'll try and do that, but Problem is, there's not gonna be face cam, so that's gonna be a weird thing. But you'll still get the idea of like, oh my gosh, Doctor Strange, oh my gosh, Shang-Chi, San Diego Comic-Con, Marvel Phase 4, whoa, how crazy! I don't know, but I can maybe do something like that. But you can go check that out later on my channel. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.